We also made a momentous commitment at the G7 to help meet more than $40 trillion need that exists for infrastructure in the developing world. I put forward an idea that was called, we named the Build Back Better World Partnership, which is, we're calling it the B3W. The point is that we also made a historic commitment to permanently eliminate the use of our public finance to support unabated coal projects around the world. In addition, we also agreed to tackle corruption, which is a threat to societies everywhere. I pointed out in the conversation I had with one of the leaders of, well, actually with China, it was a request for me not to try to, when I was asked what I was going to be doing after being elected, I said we're going to reestablish the strength of American relationships so we can be counted on again.
On China, China seems to be doing exactly what it wants to do with regard to Hong Kong, with regard to Xinjiang, with the South China Sea, and many other issues, despite pressure from you and from allies. The final language in the G7 communique does have some mentions of China, which is different from past years, but I know it's not as tough as you and your team wanted it to be. We saw a draft of the communique, and it's not quite as tough. So why isn't it as tough? There isn't very much action in it. There's some calls for China to be respectful, but why isn't that communique a little bit tougher? Are you disappointed in that? And what can you do to change some of these actions by China?
Well, first of all, I think as you know, last time the G7 met, there was no mention of China. But in the meantime, we're going to move forward. Look, I think it's always, let me put it this way. I know this is going to sound somewhat prosaic, but I think we're in a contest, not with China per se. We don't know, we haven't had access to the laboratories to determine whether or not, I have not reached a conclusion because our intelligence community is not certain yet, whether or not this was a consequence of from the marketplace of a bat and interfacing with animals in the environment that caused this COVID-19, or whether it was an experiment gone awry in a laboratory. It's important to know the answer to that because we have to have access. We have to build a system whereby we can know when we see another lack of transparency might produce another another pandemic. We have to have access. The world has to have access. So we're trying to figure out at the G7 whether we could put together an international basis upon which we could have a bottom line with what the transparency accounted for. In Libya, we should be opening up the passes to be able to go through and provide food assistance and vital assistance to a population that's in real trouble. I think I'm going to try very hard to, and by the way, there's places where, I shouldn't be starting off and negotiating in public here, but let me say it this way. Russia has engaged in activities which we believe are contrary to international norms, but they have also bitten off some real problems they're going to have trouble chewing on. And for example, the rebuilding of Syria, of Libya, they're there.